Football with Farhan and Moj brought to you by Chambers of Commerce Group Insurance and the West Coast Auto Group. Before we get to Hawk Talk, let's talk a little bit of NCAA football. And starting with the University of Notre Dame, their coach Brian Kelly actually just became the winningest coach in Notre Dame history. 106 wins, surpassing the legendary Knute Rockne. Not an easy place to win. He's managed to stay there for a while.
Yeah, it's so much pressure when you're at Notre Dame. It's always about winning at Notre Dame. It's about getting to the big dance, and he's done a great job there. As you mentioned, 106 wins. But when you talk about Knute Rockne, that's a different animal. 106-39, that's Kelly's record. Knute Rockne, 105-12. So,
well, and some national championships associated with that, which Kelly hasn't had a chance to do yet. But he's made Notre Dame relevant again because in the early part of this century, they weren't.
No.
And the top players didn't go there. And, you know, they talk about how it's a more difficult school to get into. I'm not sure that's necessarily the case when you're the highest end football player, but he's put them back in the conversation of getting into the playoff, and they are nationally relevant again. Nationally relevant is this game, Alabama versus Ole Miss this weekend. You know, we're Ole Miss, Eli Manning's old school, but they got another quarterback in town named Matt Corral. This guy is on fire right now. He's the front runner to win the Heisman Trophy. And if you think he's going to show up to Alabama and he's going to get slapped around, not necessarily, because last year against Alabama, he threw for over 350 yards, 3 touchdowns, led that team to 48 points. They had more success against Alabama than any other school, even though Bama eventually won that game 63-48, but that game in Tuscaloosa, that's going to be a lot of fun.
Yeah, I mean, as we have a little bit of a malfunction here with my earpiece flying all over. I hate TV. You don't need earpieces in radio.
No, you don't.
Anyway, getting back to what we're talking about, Alabama right now, we talk about this all the time. They're the elite in the NCAA. Mm-hmm. Make no mistake about it. But I think, you know, even a bigger story for me, Farhan, Arkansas, what are they, 7 now? They've moved up.
Yeah.
LSU's not ranked. Clemson. I mean, are we seeing a little bit of a shift with some of the more
I absolutely hope
schools?
so. You know, I hope there's more teams in the Big Ten, because they keep telling me that it's a great conference, and really all it is Ohio State and a bunch of average. The ACC is Clemson and a bunch of average. So I'm hoping that some of these teams can climb. You know, I'm not an Oregon fan, but it'd be great for the Pac-12 if they could sustain it. But just to have different names in that playoff conversation, I think is good for the sport. Bama's going to be there, but we need to see some other teams in that conversation and not 4 of the same 5 schools every year. And we'll see if Ole Miss can pull off an upset, because if they can do that in Alabama, it would be monumental. And Bryce Young, the quarterback at Alabama, is second in betting favorites as far as the Heisman is concerned. So that trophy could very well be decided